This is the Winkle Report with your host, Ferd Winkle. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Ferd Winkle and welcome to the Winkle Report, where we keep our eyes open so you don't have to. Tonight, we're going to continue with the subject we began on our last program, propaganda. Why? We live in an age where fake news has become big business, and denialism has become a life choice. We hide behind our fears and anything we don't want to believe, we just refuse to believe. There are those who deny climate change, those who deny the Holocaust occurred. There are even those who still refuse to accept that the earth is round and that man has landed on the moon. Unfortunately, denial does not change a fact, an historical event, or scientific data. Denialism is an act of fear, an attempt to avoid the truth, and in today's world, that denial could be devastating for us all. Propaganda is a form of denialism. It denies fact and creates a false reality for us to hide our fears behind. In hunting, there's a technique we've all heard about. It's where hunters drive a herd of animals towards a cliff. The Neanderthals hunted mammoths this way, and the American Indians did the same with buffalo. The hunters would yell and beat on sticks and drums, causing the herd to panic and run from the noise. The animals were confused and frightened, and they fell to their deaths following their leaders, that fear and confusion leading them to bad choices. Fear is the fuel that drives propaganda. Our fears cripple us all, and that is what propaganda does. It cripples us by creating a fear and increasing our anxiety until we panic and run blindly in the direction they want us to. That is why it is so important to be aware of propaganda, so we can act like human beings instead of animals driven by fear. In 1937, the Institute of Propaganda Analysis was established to educate the American public about propaganda. It was disbanded in 1942 due to lack of funds in World War II. But the Institute did categorize the 7 basic techniques that are still in use today: card stacking, name-calling, transfer, testimonial, glittering generalities, plain folks, and bandwagon. Card stacking is the basis of all propaganda. It is using words and pictures to present a one-sided view of the message. You get one point of view, one opinion. Card stacking slants information so that the message group finds itself accepting something it would not normally support. Once it is accepted, it becomes extremely difficult to change that attitude through reason, and tensions between groups usually worsen when the message group is forced to defend its position. Name-calling or demonization is derogatory labeling which puts a group into a negative light and isolates them from the main population, so that instead of treating them as people, they become objects to be feared and hated, and the truth is lost in the emotional bias that labeling creates. Transfer or the halo effect is when symbols are used to highlight a story with positive or negative associations instead of letting facts tell the tale. The symbol is not essential to the message. It is added for effect. A flag or a cross, for instance, can give the message a feeling of having been approved by a higher authority. A testimonial makes an association between a respected person or a person in authority and the cause being espoused by the message. The hope is that the respected person will get others to follow his lead. It's similar to a celebrity endorsement. Glittering generalities uses slogans or simple catchphrases to make generalized statements attractive to the message group. Anything general enough to inspire a sense of pride and personal involvement. For instance, if you don't support the flag, you don't love the country. Or anybody who doesn't support veterans doesn't love the country. The statements are vague and say very little, but they create a sense of unease because the reader feels there's someone out there who the message is referring to. So he chooses his political rivals or a group that has been previously singled out through demonization. Plain folks convinces a message group that the spokesman is like them and shares their cares and concerns, using plain language and mannerisms to build trust. My friends, we all have the same goals and share the same ideals. We're looking out for each other. And what I do for all of us. And finally, there's bandwagon, which capitalizes on the human drive to be part of a group and on the winning side. By creating the illusion that widespread support exists, the propagandist hopes that those who are on the fence will join the cause or feel isolated from the group if they don't. Group peer pressure prevails. Government officials agree that those who know support. This technique was used extensively during the last election cycle by the Russians when sock puppets and bots generated this sense of support for propaganda messaging on Facebook through mass likes and shares. Used singly or in combination, these 7 techniques, as defined by the Institute in 1937, are the basis for all the propaganda we see today. They are designed for effect, and their purpose is to arouse the emotions and make it difficult to think critically about the substance of the propaganda message. And here in the 21st century, these techniques have only become more sophisticated. Psychology and the social sciences have advanced our understanding of what motivates behavior. And social networks and search engines have business models that use this knowledge to maximize the time we spend on them. This drive to increase revenue share was a leading factor behind the infamous 2012 Facebook experiment on artificially adjusting emotional responses through selective word use in their news feeds. And Cambridge Analytica used psychological profiling to influence voting in the last election cycle through weaponized AI propaganda, which created a detailed analysis of personal preferences by placing a large number of ads on Facebook and seeing which were clicked on and which received likes. Didn't you ever wonder what those cute little surveys were really all about? The AI then tailored personal ads for individuals depending upon their responses. It was able to do this through what are called dark posts. Dark posts are only visible to the targeted users, and there was no way for anyone outside of Analytica or the Trump campaign to track the content of those ads. They were also able to shut down negative feeds so that no contrary information was seen by any messaged individuals. There was no government oversight, no public scrutiny, just millions of Facebook users seeing what Cambridge Analytica wanted them to see. We were led like cattle to the market. Controlling public opinion is, as it has always been, a sure path to power. And the only chance we have to make any difference is through the choices we make. It is our only defense. We can do it as human beings and control our own destiny, or we can be driven like a herd. Every true belief should begin with a sense of rational doubt. And if your beliefs can't stand up to questioning and being tested, maybe you should change your beliefs. Don't trust blindly. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. This has been the Winkle Report.